It's not a very good time to be Emma Watson, is it? From child actor to indie darling to big budget star, and finally to whiny, controversial and divisive activist, increasingly disconnected from reality and now publicly ridiculed by one of the biggest names in modern culture.
Now, full disclaimer, I'm not getting into the whole JK Rowling debacle on this one. Frankly enough, there's way too much to unpack there, and we're not here to pour over too many details on that. But to simplify things, let's just say that things haven't been all too magical between JK Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, and the cast members of the legendary book's equally famous film adaptation. Basically, the main cast, we're particularly seeing Emma Watson most recently, very much so disagree with Rowling's sentiments on trans people. For any of you who are not aware, and I'm quite envious to be honest, Rowling in the past few years has been getting creative with her tweets. And some of the cast members, including and especially Daniel Radcliffe, you know, the guy who literally played Harry Potter, they do not see eye to eye with her. If you ask me, it all boils down to this. They have their own beliefs, she has hers. Neither of them are backing down anytime soon, and we can tell. I mean, just look. Rowling herself had felt betrayed by the main trio. The main trio in question have openly made it clear that they do not stand behind her beliefs. Everyone on the internet has been going back and forth about it, because really, I doubt we'll ever find the middle ground in this case. People are opinionated. Celebrities are people, and they just so happen to just have this platform to air out these opinions more openly to the masses. And to be honest, there's a lot of nuance necessary looking into all of this, because the moment Rowling started liking the first bouts of incriminating tweets, everyone and their mother has been divided. The Harry Potter fandom, once quite tightly knit, found one of its biggest fractures here, because I genuinely think we won't be seeing the end of the whole gender and sexuality debate, at least not anytime soon. Hell, we're far from even solving racism, so what more this? So let's give everyone in this case some benefit of the doubt, shall we? I think it's best to really look into JK Rowling's background first and foremost. Now, behind the massive success she garnered from her work, she had humble beginnings. At some point, she lived off of public aid drafting Harry Potter while she was busy with work. Hell, even with how huge Harry Potter is in contemporary times, and the word huge might not even be able to suffice, the manuscript itself literally got rejected multiple times. This was literally one of the biggest success stories to date. There's no erasing that she's done a huge amount of charity work herself, and her past has compelled her to give back to the less fortunate. So she's no Voldemort, but then again, it's worth seeing where people are coming from in regards to why they believe she's tarnishing her own legacy as a once widely beloved author. Well, it started harmlessly, really.
What started as a clarification on Dumbledore's personal life mere months after the series concluded slowly evolved into an avalanche of unnecessary canon additions to the Harry Potter universe. That avalanche recently gave us the qualification on the specific intensity of Dumbledore's romantic life, but nothing will ever top the revelation that wizards, historically speaking, used to poo themselves.
While inserting the most random facts to your books after the fact they got published is a choice, it's not too bad. Cause hey, if fans can headcanon, then who's to say that the author herself can't? It's her world and we're just living in it. Then around 2018, she got into her first controversy about trans views, mainly for liking a tweet referring to trans women as men in dresses. Again, I'm not doing a whole dissertation on the whole anti-trans controversy, but I'll point out the most notable parts. This essentially snowballed into liking and following openly transphobic public figures, which, while questionable, could still be somewhat given plausible doubt. Though, it is worth mentioning that she, along with other public figures like Elon Musk, was named in a cyberbullying lawsuit in 2024 by boxer Imani Khalif, after false claims about her gender, and it's worth noting that Khalif was born female. Eventually, she's made it clear, like JK Rowling made it clear that as a survivor of domestic abuse and sexual assault, she has her reservations about trans women in women's spaces. From then on, you could imagine how things started really spiraling from there. There are people who wholeheartedly stand behind her, but it's definitely not her main cast. Even Chris Columbus, director of the first two movies in the series, verbally expressed disagreement.
Look, Hilary, the director of Harry Potter 1 and 2, Chris Columbus, has cast doubt over a cast reunion, suggesting that it's because he doesn't agree with JK Rowling's position on trans issues. He's labelled her views around gender unfortunate, and that he suggested he just doesn't agree with them.
Whoa, this truly snowballed into something huge, didn't it? And here I was, blissfully thinking that the Harry Potter saga will simply remain what it once was. A whimsy, adventurous tale about young fledgling wizards. Like I've said, there are fans who've also felt upset because, ironically, isn't one of the main premises of Harry Potter being a boy stifled to be who he really was for a sizable chunk of his childhood? But going back to Emma Watson, the original Hermione of the series, in her recent tweet, Rowling has called Watson ignorant of how ignorant she is.
Emma Watson is ignorant of how ignorant she is and has trashed women's rights. Those are just some of the stinging words JK Rowling has unleashed against the Harry Potter actress today.
She further asserted that I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma Watson famous. Those who agree with JK Rowling emphasizes this, pointing out Watson's more privileged background in comparison to Rowling's, criticizing the main cast for biting the hand that feeds them. And to make this very clear, Rowling is coming from the standpoint of protecting women, specifically cisgender women. Her posts scrutinize Watson's experiences, emphasizing the privilege she has to not deal with issues like homeless shelters, mixed-sex wards, and other similar spaces since Watson has the means to protect herself. To an extent, there is a truth to it. However, though early fame has secured Emma Watson for the most part, this does not fully diminish the struggles she herself has faced. If you have been a staunch Harry Potter fan, anticipating the movies in the 2000s, there's a good chance you're familiar with this predicament. Prior to turning 18, Watson had tabloids and people counting down to her 18th birthday. There were people who took upskirt photos, sent rape threats. You get the deal. While there is no denying her privilege, Watson herself is no stranger to the very real threats that women get.
I came out of my 18th birthday party and photographers lay down on the pavement and took photographs up my skirt, which were then published on the front of the English tabloids the next morning. If they'd published the photographs 24 hours earlier, they would have been illegal, but because I turned 18, they were legal.
In her latest 2-hour interview, Watson had this to say about Rowling.
I really don't believe that by having had that experience and holding the love and support and views that I have mean that I can't and don't treasure Jo and the person that I had personal experiences with. I will never believe that one negates the other.
Rowling was right that her work propelled Watson to fame. There is no denying that being Hermione is still Watson's standout role, and this is taking into consideration that she played Belle, a whole-ass Disney princess, back in 2017. That speaks volumes in itself. That being said, though, owing someone to whatever extent shouldn't necessarily mean agreeing with them on everything. And it's not that Watson hates Rowling over this. Heck, I don't even think Rowling hates Watson despite this staunch disagreement. Because to lay it bare, people are complex. What does that mean? Well, for starters, it won't be easy to just set a long-time connection on fire over opposing beliefs. In the statement I clipped, Watson made it transparent that Rowling was someone she treasured. I saw someone mention this in a discussion. Allow me to back that up. Let's take my paternal grandfather here. A raging alcoholic, chronic smoker of at least 1 pack a day, a serial womanizer. Of course, as a kid, I didn't know that. Shit like this, you keep it away from the kids as a hush-hush secret because you don't want a toddler finding out Peepaw isn't a wholesome old man. But despite that, I still had good experiences with him. He played outside with me, he listened to me ramble nonsense as a child. He listened to me when I told him not to eat a candy bar to not worsen his diabetes. The version of him I had known, it was someone starkly different from the man my grandma knew. To me, he was a cool guy, and to her, he was a terrible person. Both are true at the same time. See, the thing some people neglect is the nuance, the sheer complexity people have. I personally detest the things that my grandpa has done, yet that doesn't erase the fact that he was part of the ones who have shaped my perspective growing up. My father even has a similar story. My friend even has a similar story father, and I've seen many others echo this experience with their own parents. He was a good dad, but a terrible husband.
It's my deepest wish that I hope people who don't agree with my opinion will love me, and I hope I can keep loving people who I don't necessarily share the same opinion with. And I think that's a very, very important way for me that I need to be able to move.
Now, I don't know the inner workings of her mind, but I wager that Emma Watson feels similarly regarding JK Rowling. Like, Rowling gave her the boost to kickstart her career. She was a friend, she was someone she looked up to. Who wouldn't, right? I know if I were in that position, I would also see that person as a huge inspiration, perhaps even a motivation to thrive in life. But again, there's no such thing as black and white when it comes to people's perspectives. There will always be people you love who will differ wildly from you in terms of beliefs. Sometimes they will agree with beliefs that are non-negotiable to you, and this is what's most prominent in this scenario. My grandpa was already deceased when I found out his set of faults, and needless to say, that absolutely cracked the rose-colored glasses for me. Had he still been alive when I found out, I'll be honest when I say that I wouldn't know how to act. Because people, they don't like losing people they cherish, whether it is lost through death or something that sounds as simple to the of beliefs. We don't like that. It's not a fun time, and the very public disagreement between Rowling and certain cast members made it obvious that they also don't like this themselves. Now, regardless of how you see it, there's no denying that this is absolutely a terrible time to be a Harry Potter fan. Whichever side you're on, this is messy. Kind of like being put on the hot seat by Dolores Umbridge herself, who is, universally accepted as the greater evil over Voldemort. It's real, raw, and if you've ever had to stress over having deeper conflicts between loved ones, then you know pretty well how this feels. So, moral of the story, people will always have something to disagree about, and sometimes that leads to one or two relationships getting severed. Do I wish this to never happen ever? Absolutely. But the truth of the matter is, we don't always get what we want. No matter how much you've cherished someone, they won't always be on your side. Life's complicated, people are complicated, and the sooner we accept that, the less it sucks on our part. Do you know what it's like to end a relationship over a spat? Got into some nasty beef into the depths of Twitter. And yes, I'm never gonna call it X. Let me know in the comments, because I'm always up for a chat and a story, as lengthy and complicated as it may get. It's Current Champ here. See you on the next one. Peace.
And I'ma just do me. A new thing hold me down on 2 feet. That's 10 toes, bust 4, 5, and 6 foes. Need 2, 6, 4, 0 eyes and a 6 4.